What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Low Guido's Chop Shop, second best gel blaster channel on the tubes. And today I have the G&G ARP9 on the bench. And I believe this is a collaboration between G&G and XYL, who are the previous manufacturer, or who have manufactured a previous generation of the ARP9. This one has come to me from ViperTac. Ooh, the patch doesn't want to stay on the box because the box is so slick and shiny. It's so shiny that it's actually overexposing my camera. I don't know if you can tell, but it's got like a carbon fiber look to it as well. Quite a nice looking box, but no one really cares about the box. They care about what's inside the box. That's what I care about. What's in the box. Alright, so we've got some instructions with a surprising amount of English on them too, oddly enough. And there it is. Let me get this out of the box so you can see what we're working with here. Alright, look at this thing. The ARP9 is a polarizing blaster at the best of times because it is a speedy boy blaster, so milsim type people don't particularly like it. This is going to be the first thing you're going to see. You're going to see this ridiculous trigger and trigger guard here, and you're going to go, what on earth? And speedy boys will get it, but some people don't get it. The idea is it's got a huge trigger that you can literally fit like 4 fingers on, so that you can fan the trigger really quickly, so you can get like, because in competitions you're only allowed to use semi-auto, so you can set it to semi, fan the trigger really fast, and basically it's a way to break the rule without breaking the rule. So you can basically run full auto with without switching to full auto. However, the people who make the rules are smart, so they basically have outlawed this trigger anyway. So despite it being a competition type blaster with a competition trigger, this trigger is actually illegal for most competitions anyway. So if you were going to buy one of these, you would probably be removing this trigger and just keeping the regular trigger. However, fortunately, it wouldn't be too difficult to just put a straight trigger guard in there and even just cut the bottom off this trigger and just go with it. I mean, because really, do you need 4 fingers to fan? You can still fan pretty quick with 1 finger. Either way, like, let's just forget this happened, and let's actually have a look at the rest of the blaster. Because I don't think speedy boys or milsimmers alike would be like. I don't know that anyone loves the fan trigger. Does anyone like this? Put it in the comments if someone likes this. I don't know of anyone who actually likes this. If I owned this, I would probably replace it with a flat trigger. But that's me. I imagine that other people have got their opinions. But having said that, it is a like fairly nice CNC alloy trigger, and it appears to have, quite a short throw, which is obviously due to the Mosfet that it's going to be having, I imagine. I haven't opened it up yet, so I don't know the specs. But this mag release is actually pretty cool, despite having this really big. See if I can reach from around the tripod. Having the big mag release, I find that's handy, because you can basically access the mag release while you still got a grip on the blaster, so you can be in firing position and still be able to quickly release the mag and chuck another one in. So that's a cool thing for speedy boys and milsimmers alike, I think. The magazine, let's have a look at the mag. Oh, that's the other thing. It comes packed with what it calls boutique accessories. So I'm going to have a look at what are these boutique accessories. Boutique. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? Boutique accessories. Alright, okay, so there's our sights. Looks like it's got some rails. And gels. Oh, it's got a battery. It's got a battery and a charger, which I'm actually pleasantly surprised and happy about, because often with these new blasters that we're getting on the market, they're not coming with batteries, and so you've got to provide your own battery a lot of the time. So this one's coming with a battery, which is good. I will grab the magazine so we can have a look at that. Alright, here's the mag. It's an extended 9mm style mag, hence ARP9. It is supposed to be a 9mm variant. Despite being a gel blaster, there's literally no caliber difference between any gel blasters. They're all 7 to 8mm. But we do have the long and skinny 9mm style mag there, and it does pop out quite easily. In fact, if I were to hold that vertically and push the grip, it would probably slide out once it's been broken in. It does. It is fairly fresh and new, so it is still held in there, but I'd say with time that would probably eject a bit better. There is actually a little detent there as well. So, and it does look like it is the same mag as the previous ARP9 from XYL as well, so it should have mag compatibility with the previous model, which is good. Nice, solid feeling nylon. It's got some metal, possibly steel on the, yep, steel rails. That's a magnet that's sticking to it. It means that they're some type of steel. Looks like we've got the plastic flash hider or a nylon flash hider, and potentially a alloy outer barrel. This mag release is alloy as well, by the way, CNC alloy, along with this crazy trigger guard and trigger. Alright, let's have a look. Let's load her up. Let's load her up and test it, because I want to see what it shoots like out of the box. Alright, here we go. Mag prime. Mag prime in the charging handle, so that's cool. It's not often you see that these days. Semi. Oh, there's some decent numbers there. .262. Alright, let's give it a little fully auto burst. Oh, it's got a nice sound to it. Definitely sounds crisp. It's got a nice pop. Let's see what average we've got. 250, 253 average, which is not bad for an out of the box blaster. These days I think we probably come to expect maybe closer to 300, but 300 does stretch to the limits of some fields' rules, depending on which field. Alright, not too shabby. Just get this mag out and clear the gels. Alright, so let's take a look at this thing. I've put the battery in the battery compartment here. This is where the battery goes, and obviously I put it in there for the test firing. I notice, I don't know if you can actually see, but there is a little Mosfet in there. some sort of little Mosfet fire control unit type situation in there. This is an interesting battery. It is a 7.4 volt battery. It's not 18650s though. It's some shorter cells, obviously to fit in the CQB stock. They've made the battery a little bit shorter. I dare say, I mean, I had a look at the instructions, and it also 7.4 volts. So dare say they don't recommend 11 volts. But I don't know what that little MOSFET's capable of. I'll have to have a look when we take this further down. Mag prime. It does have mag prime in the charging handle, which is good. I like that because it's a feature that not too many biases are coming with these days. And if you're coming with a mag that is this long, right, so almost half of your mag capacity is wasted in the lift tube. So if you've just poured gels into that, like you pretty much like almost half your capacity of your mag is just in the lift tube. So you want to be able to prime that up. Having said that, once you start firing, it will prime pretty quickly. Everything appears to be mostly nylon construction, with the exception of a couple of alloy and steel additions here. Looks like a nylon motor plate. Is that nylon? Oh, it could be alloy. Yeah, that's an alloy. That's an alloy motor plate. All right, let's take this down. I'm gonna start with knocking this pin here out and see if we can get the upper off. Upper should come off. Now you got to take a bit of care, because this does have mag priming. When you take the upper off, can't just rip it straight forward, because you could damage the switch in here. The switch is in there. This one actually looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. The way it's molded into the gearbox like that, I was thinking it might have been more like the SLR one. The SLR one actually has a toggle switch which moves back and forward, and you can easily tear that off when you move the the upper forward. So yeah, this one looks a bit more sturdy, although the wires sticking out the side there look like they might be easy to catch, but still seem, you know, relatively sturdy. I feel like that should have been underneath the wire management from factory, under that little tab. That's alright, we'll sort that out in a moment. You can see it's got this faux bolt here. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so the faux bolt is actually connected to the tappet plate, which is interesting because you can see when I push the bolt back, the nozzle moves with it. So that means because the bolt is attached to the tappet plate there, it will reciprocate with the tappet plate, which will give you that sort of cool blowbacky kind of appearance. We've got the barrel here, incredibly short barrel. I'm gonna grab my verniers and give that a measure. 7.5. 7.5 ID barrel on that one, and it is quite a shorty. I could probably measure it with my verniers, it's that short. Look at about 13.5 centimeters from the tip to the T. Alright, let's look at this box. It looks like a nylon box. We've got a ported cylinder in there, and of course that port looks like, yeah, probably about 50%, which is what you'd sort of expect for something with a barrel this short. The numbers weren't super high, but I get the feeling that a spring would definitely wake this up. Having said that, it's only running a 7-volt battery, so determining whether or not the Mosfet can handle an 11 will probably determine whether or not you want to muck around with a bigger spring in this. Alright, now I guess the next thing I've got to do is get this stock off. I can see the Mosfet in here, and I can see that there is a Allen head screw down in there that holds this stock on. So I'm going to get that Allen head screw. I think it's alright, yep, so it's a 5mm Allen head screw. Now, okay, so we've got to get the screw plate to drop out the back so that the Mosfet will fit through the front. If that makes sense. There we go. Alright. Now we can see the Mosfet. Let's have a closer look at this Mosfet. Alright, so there it is. It's covered in some clear heat shrink that doesn't appear to be too shrunk. It's interesting that it's all sort of self-contained out here in the, well, what would be the buffer tube. You get your motor wires there. Then you'll have a micro switch for the trigger and a micro switch for the mag prime. And then this one with the 4 wires would be your fire select switch. I'm guessing that's what I would do if it was me. Okay, so this Mosfet is incredibly interesting, at least to me anyway. You can see here you've got all your connectors coming in this side. You can see here you got your battery coming in this side. Now when we talk about Mosfet, most people think, you know, oh yeah, here's a Mosfet. This guy here, see this big square character? He's actually the Mosfet. When we're talking about Mosfets, we're talking about this guy here. So what we've got on this board here, we've got a little microprocessor here. There's a pair of optocouplers here, and the optocouplers basically they separate this side of the house from this side of the house. So there's no electrical connection between the actual microprocessor and the Mosfet. I say Mosfet, there's 2 Mosfets. There's actually a smaller one here. It's like 2, there's a big one and a small one. So they keep the brains separated from the brawn. They're called optocouplers because they actually separate it by light. So there's inside here, there's a little optical connection. Don't worry, I'm not going to explain it, but basically they shine a light in there that detects the light, and it's like a switch. Switches. It basically keeps this electronics separate from this electronics. So this basically turns the Mosfet on. The Mosfet's like a massive tap for current, essentially. This guy's a 2003 SLJJ Mosfet. So he's got an IMAX of 110 amps. although they rate these things at like room temperature. So well, that sounds like a lot. When this thing gets warm, your current rating's probably going to drop down. So at, say, if this was at 100 degrees, your current's going to drop to about 80 amps max. And so you're going to fry it from current, not necessarily from voltage. I'm trying to see anything on here that's going to limit you from putting an 11 volt on it, and I can't. This thing's good to switch 35 volts, and I dare say that one as well. There is a small voltage regulator on this side of the house here. That's basically just to provide the, I think it's like 5 volts, it's probably a 5 volt regulator. That's to provide you 5 volts for the microprocessor, because it's obviously not going to be running on 7 or 11 volts. But it's interesting the way this works, and I know I'm probably boring you to death right now, but I find this really interesting because basically it looks like we've got a main Mosfet here for the main motor, and then there's a smaller Mosfet here which is for the mag motor. So there's these two bad boys sitting right next to each other, big bro and little bro. From what it looks like here, turn this over, you got your positive battery wire coming in, and it just runs straight down this track to the wire which comes out here, which goes to the motor in the grip. So that's like positive straight through. Negative, however, comes in here, and then it's tapped through your Mosfet, switched by probably this optocoupler here, to then connect that to this wire here, which is your negative wire of your motor. So when that guy's switched on, your negative motor turns on. Now from the looks of it, this smaller FET actually runs the mag motor. So again, controlled by this optocoupler over here, you got a smaller FET turned on when you want to prime the mag, and that's what allows you to have the separate mag priming motor when you press this button on top here. The interesting thing about that is that it obviously has to run at the same time. So obviously this is configured so that when the main motor comes on, the mag motor also comes on, but you can also trigger the mag motor separately from a switch, which is I'd say the second one here is the switch here. I think that's the motor out. So what I'm saying here, what I find interesting, is the mag terminals up in here, I don't believe they're ever physically connected to the motor wires, which is how most blasters are done. So the mag terminals directly connect to this little Mosfet, which is super interesting to me. I'm not gonna harp on about that any longer. I think we've seen enough. But yeah, that is interesting and cool. The mag motors are essentially a parallel system to the main motor in the blaster. So generally speaking, the mag motors just run whenever the main motor's running, and then you have to put a diode or something in to allow mag priming, but not in this case. It's a completely separate system, which I think is cool, but it also does open up a potential for having, say, like this Mosfet blow. Not that you should ever blow this, but you know, if you do something and that happens to blow, then your main motor's still going to work, but your mag won't feed. Yeah. But I think that's an unlikely situation, but I do find it interesting. Anyway, let's continue. Alright, I'll pop the motor out next. Looks like a couple of Allen screws, 2mm. Also, these are generally sprung, so if you're taking these out, it helps to sort of hold it with your finger while you're taking it out. Okay, so that is most definitely a cast alloy plate, motor plate. And now I'm expecting this to be a decent sort of motor, because I mean it felt pretty snappy even on 7 volts. So let's see what we've got here. Speed. It's got some grease on the side of it. Lancer Tactical, 30k plus 10%. Plus 10%, what does that mean? Just by looking at it, it looks like there's some neodymium magnets in there. Like, they look like it. I mean, I don't have a scientific way to tell, but what is this? Plug NSL motor, world high torque, option number 1. Well, it says high torque on this side and it says speed on this side. So speed 30,000. 30,000. I'm assuming that's RPM. Yeah, 10 plus 10. All right. So I don't know much about this motor, but it does seem pretty good from the looks of it. Motor's one of those things that you can't really tell until you use them. It's got like a CNC rear cap on it, and it looks like it's sort of rebuildable as well, because it doesn't look like the can's crimped on. So that looks like a decent little motor unit. Alright. 4 screws in the grip. Phillips head number 1. Let's get those ones out. Alright. And then we've got to get the motor wires to come through the holes. Alright. Now I'm going to have to punch this pin here out from the other side, and yeah, it's quite a sturdy pin. I do like it when they don't just fall out easily. I do like having to give them a sharp blow you know what I mean, to get them out, because there's nothing more frustrating when you're on the field and you lose your pin or something. Alright, so now I'm going to unplug these wires here, because I've got the positive and negative motor wires here, because the Mosfet's not going to feed through that hole very easily. So fortunately I can actually unplug it from the board. There's the 3 little connectors here that I can unplug, and then these ones that I'm going to unplug. They are quite tight though, and my fingers are a little greasy, so I might need to get a little pair of pliers. Be careful with these little tiny plugs. You don't want to damage them unplugging them. It's also worth noting the top one has the 2 pins, and the middle one has 3 pins, so that you can't muck it up, can't get it wrong. Alright, so there's the Mosfet. You know what's actually cool about this? I like this Mosfet because these have got to be a consumable, right? You've got to be able to buy these. So that would work on just about any other blaster. If you've got a project that you're building and you're looking for some sort of Mosfet to add to it, that's probably a fairly cheap option, especially if you want mag prime in your blaster. I reckon that's worth looking into. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, but yeah, I do. I like the way it's not in the box as well. I mean, it does take up a bit of space in the buffer tube, but it's just like serviceability is so easy. You can just take it out and be done. Alright, now the interesting thing here is going to be this trigger. Oh, I got to take this little pin out here first. Knock the pin from here. Yep, that should do. Always keep in mind the knurled end of the pin. One end is knurled, so you don't want to drive the knurled end all the way through. Alright, now we got to get this ridiculously large trigger out. It's kind of hilarious. Okay, so my suspicion's confirmed there. Let me just pop this out of the box, out of the receiver. Get all these wires out so that I can get that. My suspicion's confirmed. The actual mag terminals here literally connects, they go straight back here and connect straight to the Mosfet. And now I can tuck that wire under there. Doesn't upset my OCD anymore, even though I'm just about to take it apart, so rip me. Yeah, so little wire straight down the side there for the mag terminal, little wire straight down there for the priming. We've got a quick release spring, which is good. We should see that these days on almost every blaster. Last couple that I've seen didn't have this trigger. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But being that it is a micro switch inside here, the play is not much. So you've got like a really nice little fast sort of low movement trigger there. So that's kind of nice. Although if you do grab it on right on the bottom, then you've got like normal trigger pull. And then up here is anyway. I digress. Alright, well, let's pop this thing apart. We're gonna break the warranty seal, unfortunately. Rip. But we want to see what's inside it. I mean, I gather there's metal gears inside. The pinion gear was a nice looking metal pinion gear. I did see that on the motor when I pulled the motor out. 8mm bushes by the looks of it. The grip has threaded brass inserts to connect. That's weird. That part there looks like it's kind of being ground off for reasons I don't quite understand. But yeah, screwing the grip screws in. They got brass inserts, which is good because I've seen a lot of blasters with just screwing into the nylon. You got, yeah, you know, that's your handle. That's what you're holding. You got all the weight of everything pivoting on these little screws here. So you know, having inserts is good. I like that. Alright, I'm probably going to have to take this, or So I'm undoubtedly going to have to take that faux bolt off. Oh, it's a tiny, tiny Phillips head screwdriver. I don't even know what number that is. Smaller than 0 Phillips. I'm sorry if my hands are in shot. And there's the little window, the tappet plate, which has the bolt on it. Gosh, I mentioned this way back in like Gen 3 days. It would be easy enough to make like a blowback plate like this if you just attached it to your tappet plate. In fact, I think that STD6 that I had way back in the day, it did that. Anyway, it's a simple way of doing it. You don't get as much motion as like if you connect it onto the back of the piston, which is how some blasters do it. They have like a little connection to the back of the piston because you've got the whole movement of the piston, whereas this is only sort of, it's not going to fully open, it's just going to sort of move back and forth a little bit, like that much max, so it's not fully going to open, but nonetheless it's a neat little feature. Alright, let's start getting these screws undone. Looks like we've got all Phillips screws, and I will pop them all out. We've got like a number 1 Phillips. It looks like number 1 Phillips down the bottom and then maybe a number 2 Phillips on top. Oh no, number 1. They're just different colours. Don't know why. Alright, I'm going to unscrew all these. Actually, I will mention while I'm unscrewing this screw here, this particular screw, this one here, what's the necessity of this screw? Why would you take the thinnest part of the gearbox and then make it even thinner by putting a hole through it right there? You could probably have, you know, you've got a screw here, screw there. I don't know, you could keep that solid. Maybe it's to prevent flex in the nylon or something. I know aluminium boxes, a lot of them will not have a screw there because that, along with that and that, are where boxes are going to break, if they're going to break. But having said that, nylon is semi-flexible, so it doesn't just split like some of the cast alloy boxes do. So it's not indestructible, but it can in some instances be slightly better than cast in some instances. Alright, so I have to separate these two halves of the gearbox now, and I imagine that these terminals are going to come up with the top half, so that wire can probably stay with that, and then I'm going to have the, I guess the button for the mag prime, it will have to come with it as well. I'm just going to pop these little connectors through here. I think these two will stay with the top half of the box and these ones will stay down there. Alright, the final screw. And then we get to break the warranty seal. Oh no, the warranty is void. Alright. Let's see what's inside. Ah, that's cool. Okay, I like that. So the mag terminal plate and the wires and the mag priming switch and its wires all stay neatly contained on the top half of the box, and when I take the box away they stay with it, and I don't have to worry about getting things. Oh, you tell you what else stayed with the box, the bevel. That doesn't usually happen. But yeah, all the wires just sort of sit nicely in their spot where they're supposed to be. There's a healthy amount of grease in here and shims as well, so it's very greasy. It's pretty common for the anti-reverse catch to kind of pop out when you first open a gearbox, but it's not that common for the whole bevel gear to to pop out like that. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of grease. It's all on my fingers now. Alright, now looks like we've got a sintered metal gear set, and then we've got the micro switch up in here for we've got the micro switch for both the trigger and the fire select. That's interesting. But what interests me even more is what's this piston made out of? What's the rack made out of? Right, yep. So we've got a nylon rack with one metal tooth. Now the last ARP9 that I had, this stripped out quite quickly. There is a substantial amount of grease in this though, so I mean that may help keep it ticking, but I would have liked to see a full metal rack. I always like to see metal on metal. I don't like metal on plastic, because the harder thing will always wear away the softer thing. Alright, so there is a port in this, so obviously there's no pressure here until you get about halfway, and then that's where the pressure is. And it seems like it's got a okay seal, but not a perfect seal. Like there is air escaping potentially from the cylinder head. Let's have a look. Oh, it's actually held in there quite tightly. The cylinder is in there quite nice and tight. Usually I should be able to just pop it out. Oh, there we go. Okay, so it came that time. Yeah, so I think the O-ring on this could probably do with upgrading. It does hold a decent pressure. It is also covered in grease, which will definitely help it have a good seal, but it also helps it have a good vacuum as well. So, although that's not really an issue in this case, at least nothing measurable, but it is letting just a little bit of air slide past. So that could be improved a little. And I'll just check the nozzle as well. Actually, the nozzle's pretty good considering. Yeah, all things considered, the nozzle's not leaking as much as I would expect. Although, once you get it up there, no, it's not bad. Not bad. No O-rings or nothing. Just a nylon nozzle with lots of grease. The grease is definitely going to be helping its air seal. Make sure that's on nicely. Alright, I don't know that I've seen this much grease in a box anytime recently, but I am interested in, actually let's just take that out. I'm interested in this this switch box here. I'm just going to clean my hands, hold on. Alright, so there is, so we got mechanical safety? Is that a mechanical safety? Yes it is. Or is it a switch safety? No, it's definitely mechanical. Yeah. So there's a mechanical safety there, which will stop you from pulling the trigger when it's in safe. But there is a micro switch under the trigger. I'm just going to take this trigger out. So down here is your micro switch. So that's your micro switch there, and the actual little doodad that presses your micro switch is this piece on the trigger. So you really need this trigger or another trigger that you can screw this onto for it to actually work. Interesting. And of course then on the other side here you've got the sliding plate that does your selector switch, your fire select, which there'll be a small micro switch in behind here as well, which sends your signal through these 4 wires here back to the Mosfet or the fire control board, FCU, whatever you want to call the thing. So it knows what particular mode it's in. Now, I have been told that it is programmable in its modes. Not this, but the Mosfet this. So I believe it's got like a binary trigger mode and some other little features like active braking. So that's all pretty cool, and we'll look at that when we put this all back together. But yeah, it looks pretty staunch. Could be improved. I'd change this. I'd change this piston, and I'd probably do something with the nozzle and the cylinder head seals, just to get that seal perfect. But other than that, everything looks quite nice in here. I think the nylon does seem pretty sturdy. I certainly like the setup that it's got. I also noticed that this box has got a couple of different spots here for the mag terminals. It's got like 4 different spots, so potentially if you were running this box in an M4 you could just slot the mag terminal into like these 2, for example, or whatever it is that you need to connect your mags to. That's pretty good. That just means that the box becomes a bit more versatile. Alright, I'm going to pop this all back together, and you guys probably want to watch. I get a lot of people telling me that I should film the reassembly of things more often, and while I hear what you're saying, it's also going to make my videos significantly longer. And I mean, it's not like they're not long enough as it is, you know. It's not like they're not already verging on hour-long videos because I've had to pull this thing apart. But I mean, that's what we want to see, right? We want to see what's inside it. We want to see why this thing does what it does. That's what I want to see anyway. I don't know if anyone else is actually interested, but I don't know, 20,000 people can't be wrong, I guess. Alright, so got the anti-reverse is still in there. It's still holding on in there, hasn't fallen out yet, so that's good. Pop that one back in. Just got to get this cover plate spring on. Probably use this screwdriver to get it on there. Alright, and that's all there is to that. Let's pop this back in, pop the two halves on, and pop it all back together. I do like this. The cable management on this box is probably one of the best cable management systems I've seen on a gearbox. There's a number of gearboxes that are around that kind of do it not as well as they could, and it's good to see. It's good to see some cable management. I do like cable management. Alright, I'm just gonna button this up, put these screws back in, and pop this back together. And of course, let's not forget to pop our little faux bolt back on with the tiny little Phillips head screws before we pop it back in. This is this has been fairly nice to work on, actually. Like, got it taken down and inspected in a fairly short time, I think. And I wasn't exactly rushing or anything. Alright, I'll pop the spring back in. The spring which I expect is like an M85, an M90 or something, just from the feel. Alright, I'll put this all back together and see you in a moment. Okay, so I'm just popping this back together, and I was thinking about this Mosfet and how it's programmed. So I've hooked a battery up to it, and I want to program it, and I assume that to program it you just put it into the position you want to program and then hold down the trigger, because that's how a lot of the Mosfets these days are being programmed. So I'm going to try that. Hold it down. Okay, so the motor just made a noise after, I think I held the trigger down for like 4 seconds or something like that, or 3 or 4 seconds, and now it's made a noise. So okay, so it's already firing. It's now on binary trigger mode. So hold it down for 3 seconds again, and it's made another noise. So what's okay? So that sounds like a 5-shot burst. 5-shot burst, but still semi if you just tap it. Alright, so just hold that down again. Alright, it's made another noise. Alright, we're back in semi. Alright, and can we program auto? I don't know if we can program auto. It would not make sense that you would be able to program auto, because you have to hold down the trigger to program it. So if you did do that, then you'd just be in full auto, you'd just be firing. So I don't think that you program at all in full auto. I think full auto stays full auto all the time. That would make sense, because otherwise you go into programming mode when you're trying to shoot. But semi selector can be programmed for binary 5 burst or semi. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have a look at this outer barrel in the handguard here. I can't tell if it's actually alloy or what. Yep. Okay. So it is alloy. It is an alloy outer barrel in there. Alright, I'm going to finish putting this back together and then we'll do an overview. Alright, well, there it is. The ARP9 G&G and XYL collaboration, ARP9. Goofy looking trigger. Look, it's not for me, this trigger. I would be replacing this trigger guard straight away. I would probably just cut this bottom off and just replace it with a flat trigger guard. I don't mind this. That's kind of cool. Mag release, easy mag release. The mag priming on the Mosfet and the Mosfet, very cool little features. For those of you who want to see the little faux bolt move, it's not all that exciting, but there you go, there it is. Overall, a good little unit. Like, for the price point, I think it's pretty reasonable. I'm not so this trigger. Yeah, let's just forget this trigger happened, and I reckon that's a pretty good starting point. I'm particularly interested in that Mosfet because I do think that's got other applications aside from this as well. Either way, I think ViperTac has these on sale at the moment. If not, just go in there and tell them that Guido told you to give him a good deal or something. I'm sure they'll sort you out. But not too bad. It is all nylon, and I know that some people are on the all metal train. Everything's got to be metal. I don't mind nylon. I do, maybe, you know, wouldn't mind a metal handguard, but all things considered, I think it's a pretty solid looking nylon piece. Like, it's certainly a nice, like, feeling nylon to it. Much better than the old the old ABS stuff and even the old nylon stuff that we're used to. Seems pretty good, and I can see why people would be into this. I could see definitely speedy boy applications, of course without the trigger, because this trigger's not legal in speedball competitions. It's not comp legal, so you'd have to get rid of that anyway. I can see where they were going with it, but it's not my cup of tea. I'm sure there's probably people in there out there who are into that, but this is not for me. Either way, I had to kind of stop myself from like upgrading the spring and the O-ring and the nozzle and that sort of thing, because it's not mine. I do have to give it back. But I mean, all things considered, pretty decent. I think it could have probably done with a bigger spring and a metal rack on the piston. That would have set it off. If it had a metal rack and a slightly bigger spring, not too much, just a little bit, like a M100 probably, just something to just bring it up to just maybe under 300, so that you can keep it within field limits and that sort of thing. I think that'd be a good little CQB blaster. It is nice. to hold. It's small, it's compact. Oh, thin mag though, thin mag. That's my other gripe, is the skinny mag. If you're going to get one of these, you're going to have to get a lot of mags, because they don't hold a lot in this skinny mag. So like an M4 mag, which is fatter, will hold more than the ARP9 mags, and that's just by design, because it is a skinny mag. It doesn't have a lot of space in there in which to actually fit gels. So I do like that it shares the mag design with the earlier models, so that's going to be easy for you to get replacement mags if you do want to run with one of these. So that is good. I do like that. Mag compatibility is always a thing. Always a thing. I hate these new blasters coming out with proprietary mags. They could be great blasters, but if they've got proprietary mags, then it's just going to be, you know, difficult. And I mean, I see all these people complaining about, oh, why has everyone got M4s? But then when something that's not an M4 comes out, it's like, oh, but now I don't have mags for it. So what you gonna do? I do like that the mags are backwards compatible. Alright, that's it from me. I think I gotta call it a night. Don't forget, you can hit me up on Facebook if you are keen to get a patch, and if you like what I'm doing, you can buy me a coffee down below. Thank you for watching. Peace.